All right, today we're diving into something that is frankly mission critical for every healthcare practice owner out there: cybersecurity. But here's the twist: we're not going to treat it like some boring technical chore. No, we're going to frame it for what it really is: a core business strategy that's absolutely essential for your growth and, most importantly, your patients' trust. And look, this is exactly why we need to talk about this right now. The game has totally changed. It's a huge misconception that attackers only go after the big hospital networks. The truth is, smaller clinics are now squarely in the crosshairs. Why? Well, because they're often seen as easier targets with fewer IT resources, but they hold the exact same valuable patient data. Protecting your practice isn't just a good idea anymore, it's a necessity for survival. So how do we actually do this? We've laid out a clear 6-step blueprint. Think of it as our game plan. We'll kick things off by reframing security as a strategy, and then we'll walk through the practical stuff: finding your data, controlling who gets to it, stopping threats in their tracks, and finally, making security a real, ongoing part of your clinic's DNA. Okay, let's start with the big idea here. Great cybersecurity isn't about running around putting out fires. It's about proactive, strategic planning. It's really about building a resilient business that can actually thrive in this crazy digital world we live in. You know, this is straight out of Business Strategy 101, right? Before you can figure out where you're going, you have to know where you are. And in the world of cybersecurity, that means knowing which digital assets are the lifeblood of your practice and what weaknesses could put everything at risk. And this visual, it just nails the connection perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the high-level strategic planning, the big vision. And on the right, that's what it looks like on the ground for a clinic, literally mapping out where your most valuable information lives. See? The two are completely inseparable. Your data map is a core part of your business blueprint. So let's build on that with our first practical step: knowing your valuables. This is all about finding your sensitive data and mapping out the risks because, let's be honest, you can't protect what you don't even know you have. The goal here is pretty simple. We want to create a complete map of every single place your sensitive information is stored, used, or sent. We're talking everything from the computer at the front desk to the specialized equipment in the back room and any cloud services you might be using. So, what are we really looking for? Well, this stuff right here, this is the crown jewels. This isn't just a bunch of data. It's the lifeblood of your practice. It's the foundation of your patient's trust. Patient records, billing info, even your staff's payroll, an attacker sees every single one of these as a potential payday. You need to see them as your most critical assets to defend. Okay, so this is your homework. Seriously, you can start this right now. Ask these questions about your own clinic. Are you using a shared login for the front desk computer? What about that doctor who left last year? Is their account still active? The answers to these simple questions are going to shine a big, bright light on your biggest risks. All right, so once you know what you're protecting, the next question is pretty obvious, right? Who gets to touch it? And that brings us to phase 2, identity and access management, or, as I like to call it, managing who has the keys to the kingdom. The whole point of identity and access management is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Make sure only the right people can access the right data at the right time and for the right reasons. It's the digital version of making sure the key to the supply closet doesn't also open the patient records room. Makes sense, right? So how do we actually do this? Well, a few crucial steps. First, no more shared logins, period. Everybody gets their own unique account. Second, you only give people access to what they need for their job and absolutely nothing more. This is called the principle of least privilege. And of course, you've got to enforce strong passwords and turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere you possibly can. But what if someone steals a key? What if an attacker tricks someone into handing it over? That brings us to phase 3, protecting the credentials themselves. We're talking about building a rock-solid defense against phishing, which is still the #1 way attackers break into healthcare systems. Phishing attacks. You know the ones I'm talking about. Those sneaky, deceptive emails that trick your staff into giving up their passwords. They are the primary weapon used against clinics just like yours. This entire phase is dedicated to one thing: making sure those attacks fail, even if an employee makes a mistake and clicks on a bad link. Now pay attention here, because this is a huge deal. You might be thinking, hey, I've got MFA, I'm safe. But not all MFA is created equal. Standard MFA, like that code you get in a text message, can actually still be phished. But phishing-resistant MFA is different. It uses things like hardware keys or secure apps that basically lock your login to the legitimate website. What that means is, even if an attacker builds a perfect replica of your login page and tricks you into going there, the key just won't work. It's a technical hard stop, and it is the new gold standard for healthcare for sure. Okay, so we've mapped our data, we've secured the keys. What's next? Well, now we need a security camera system. And that's exactly what Phase 4 is, detecting suspicious activity before any real damage can be done. You can think of Identity Threat Detection and Response, or ITDR for short, as a super smart alarm system for all your digital accounts. It's constantly watching login activity, looking for anything that seems out of the ordinary, and it'll either alert you or even automatically lock an account when it spots a potential threat. So what kind of weird stuff is it looking for? Well, think about things a human would probably miss. For example, a login from your office in New York and then another one from Tokyo 5 minutes later. That's what we call impossible travel. Or maybe a nurse's account suddenly trying to access the payroll system. ITDR spots these red flags automatically, 24/7. All right, let's bring it home. We need to talk about the long game here. A security plan isn't some document you create once, shove in a drawer, and forget about. No way. It has to be a living, breathing part of your business strategy. And that brings us to our final and absolutely crucial phases: compliance and continuous improvement. And you know, one of the best side effects of doing all this work is that it doesn't just make you more secure. It directly helps you meet regulations like HIPAA. Phase 5 is all about formally lining up those practical controls you've put in place with your legal duties. And this isn't just about avoiding massive fines. It's about proving to your patients, your partners, and your insurance companies that you are a responsible guardian of their most sensitive information. It's a powerful trust signal. And that all leads to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. Security is a team sport. This is all about continuous improvement. Regular training, that's not a checkbox. That's how you build a human firewall. Phishing simulations aren't about tricking your people, they're about coaching them in a safe space. And doing an annual review of who has access to what, that prevents problems down the line. It's about creating an active, living security culture, not just a passive policy. So let's wrap this up with a big question for you. A good plan without action is just wishful thinking, right? So after seeing this blueprint, the question isn't just, are we secure? It's, is our security an active strategic plan for the future of our practice? Because in today's world, that's how you build a practice that doesn't just survive, but one that truly thrives.